A Texas law called Senate Bill 6 quietly took effect last September. It gave the Senate grid operator the legal power to switch off 4.3 gigawatts of Bitcoin mining during a winter emergency. Here's why it matters before the next Bitcoin halving.
Walk into a Bitcoin mine in West Texas right now, and you might catch the machines being ripped out of the walls. Not because the company went broke, but because something far more profitable is moving in, and the cost of it is quietly being added to your power bill. The same warehouse, the same power lines, the same patch of cheap Texas dirt are being refilled with artificial intelligence servers, and tens of billions of dollars in deals are flowing to make the swap happen. Texas just passed a law to switch these miners off in an emergency, and it may not matter at all because the miners are already vanishing on their own, and the thing they're turning into will not switch off for anyone. Stay with that gutted warehouse because three things are hiding inside it. How the biggest Bitcoin miners in the country quietly turned into AI landlords almost overnight. Why the one thing they own, the power running through the wall, just became the most fought over asset in America. And why the bill for all of it is being quietly mailed to your house even if you have never owned a single coin or a single share. These were Bitcoin companies a year ago. So why did Wall Street suddenly start paying them like AI firms? When the money in mining got squeezed and demand for AI computing exploded, the math flipped on its head. A megawatt of power, which is roughly enough electricity to run a couple hundred homes, earns a small fraction running mining rigs of what it earns hosting AI chips for a company like Microsoft or Amazon. So the miners pivoted, and they pivoted hard. One operator called Iren signed a deal worth nearly $10 billion with Microsoft to host tens of thousands of AI chips at its campus in Childress, Texas. And it now holds 0 Bitcoin by choice. Another, called Cypher, locked in a deal worth about $5.5 billion with Amazon's cloud arm. A company called Hut 8 signed a 15-year lease worth billions. Across the entire public mining sector, more than $70 billion in AI contracts have now been announced. The result is that AI went from about a third of these companies' income to a projected 70% by the end of this year, which means the Bitcoin miner you heard about a year ago is now, in plain terms, a data center landlord. The comfortable version of this is that it's a guaranteed gold rush. It is not. They are all sprinting through the same door at the same moment, and the doubt has a name attached to it. A research team at the investment firm Van Eck added up what this pivot actually costs to build and called it roughly a $50 billion reality check, pointing out that across the group, only about a quarter of the capacity these companies have promised has actually been built and switched on. Signing a contract, they warned, is the easy part. The companies that miss their construction deadlines could see their stock prices punished. Some will deliver. Some are selling a plan they have not built, and telling the two apart is the whole game. Now, the part that matters even if you never touch a crypto stock or an AI stock, the real bottleneck in the entire AI boom is not the chips, it is power. You cannot get a giant new site connected to the electric grid quickly. The waiting line now runs for years. In Texas alone, the grid operator is sitting on requests for more than 400,000 megawatts of new large users, the overwhelming majority of it data centers, against an all-time peak the state has never pushed past, about 85,000 megawatts.
Hey, real quick, sorry to jump in, but I put together 2 courses that, if you are interested, may change how you invest in crypto and how much money you make or lose for the better. The crypto sniper course and the cycles course I put together for the first time ever as a bundle. The link's down below for one low price. If you want to check it out, I think it will blow your mind and change everything about how you're investing in cryptocurrency. Now let's get back to the video.
So a site that already has power flowing into it, an old mining warehouse with a live grid connection, is suddenly worth a fortune, far more than empty land. Whoever controls connected, switched on megawatts controls the speed of the whole AI build-out, which is why these unglamorous Texas power sites became billion-dollar prizes almost overnight. And this is where the law comes in, the one almost no one outside the industry noticed. In June of last year, Texas passed Senate Bill 6, a state law aimed at the biggest electricity users. And by that fall, it had done something no state had done before. It handed ERCOT, the operator that runs the Texas power grid, a switch. During a grid emergency, ERCOT can now order the biggest power users in the state to power down. Texas hosts more Bitcoin mining than any state, more than 2.5 gigawatts of it, enough to run over 500,000 homes. And ERCOT already pays miners to shut off when the grid is strained, up to $175,000 an hour during the deadly freeze of 2021. But here is the honest catch the headlines skip. The mandatory version of that switch applies mainly to new sites connected after the end of 2025. So a big slice of the older mining sitting in Texas today may fall outside it entirely. And here is the trap inside the trap. That switch was designed for miners who can flip off in seconds because a paused mine just loses a little Bitcoin for a few hours. And AI data center training models for a tech giant will not power down like that. The contracts will not allow it, and the hardware will not tolerate it. The industry even has a nickname for the hybrid setup, the mullet. Flexible mining in the back that can be switched off, and locked-in AI contracts up front that cannot. So Texas built an emergency switch for a flexible threat at the exact moment that threat is hardening into something that does not flex at all. We have watched a government move this whole industry once before. And what is happening now is the photographic negative of it. In 2021, China banned mining outright. The machines went dark, and the entire load left the country, much of it landing here in Texas. Texas in 2026 is doing the reverse. The load is not leaving, it is staying and turning into AI, and that leaves the grid tighter and hungrier, not lighter. And the cost of wiring up all that new demand does not land on the data centers. It gets spread across everyone's power bill. Texas residential electricity prices are up about 30% since 2020, and one major affordability study projects they will climb roughly another 30% by 2030, driven largely by the cost of building transmission lines and poles for these giant new users. Texans are on the hook for around $32 billion in new grid infrastructure, much of it built mainly to serve data centers and crypto. The people who run the grid see it. The chairman of the state's utility commission, Thomas Gleason, has said plainly that the system cannot put the cost of these giant users on the backs of small business and residential customers. And his commission is scrambling to rewrite the rules so the data centers pay their own share. Federal energy forecasters are warning that Texas power prices could spike as the strain really bites in 2027. The grid does not get easier as the miners disappear. It gets tighter and more expensive as AI takes their place. And a piece of that bill arrives at your house. Reading a policy and power signal like this one early, before the market wakes up and reprices it, is exactly what Crypto Cycles is built to do, with Crypto Sniper for timing the entry. So read who actually wins instead of getting sold the hype. First, the cost of getting it wrong. A lot of these stocks are priced as if every single pivot succeeds, and they will not all succeed. So separate the companies with signed, funded, already built contracts from the ones still pitching a slide deck. Second, watch the one input nobody can fake or rush: connected power. The firms sitting on live grid connections and land that already has electricity flowing hold leverage that no amount of money can hurry, because you cannot buy your way to the front of a waiting line that runs for years. Third, read the grid and the AI build-out as one story, because the same megawatt that used to mine a coin now decides who gets to train a model, and more who pays for the wires. So go back to that gutted warehouse in West Texas. The mining rigs are gone, the AI servers are humming in their place, and the one thing that never changed is the only thing that ever truly mattered: the power running through the wall. Texas thought it was building a switch over Bitcoin. It was really building a switch over the most valuable real estate of the AI age, and it has not flipped it yet. The country is about to learn what the smart money already figured out: that the megawatt was the asset the whole time, and the miners were never really the story. So the next time your power bill climbs and the company that wrote it blames the weather, ask yourself whose servers you're actually paying to keep running. Economic Ninja is out.